Welcome back. Stock markets rallied today as U.S. trade authorities scaled back plans to put another 10% tariff on Chinese goods starting next month. The U.S. also decided to temporarily exclude items like computers, game consoles, and some toys from the punitive levy. So could this be a sign of a truce in the U.S.-China trade war? The CBC's senior business correspondent, Peter Armstrong, has been following the story today. He joins me now from Toronto. Hey, Peter, great to see you.
Hey, Vashi.
So let's talk about what the White House's reasoning for delaying tariffs on some of these Chinese goods is.
You know, as ever, Vashi, the riddle here is decoding what was said and trying to square it up with what actually happened. And so before I even get to what Trump said, let's just quickly review where we're at and what actually happened. So if you go back to the end of June, we were supposed to have had this truce between Donald Trump and Xi Jinping, where the Chinese were going to buy more U.S. agricultural goods, and the U.S. agreed to not impose any new tariffs. And then suddenly last week that came off the rails, and Trump decided he was going to unilaterally impose this new round of tariffs on $300 billion worth of goods. It was a big response that I don't think a lot of people saw coming. China's response, a lot of analysts were calling it like an 11 out of 10. It came over the top. They allowed their currency to devalue. With that, markets tanked. Analysts were saying that we might be looking at a global recession within like 9 months. And Fox News started criticizing the president, saying maybe you miscalculated a little bit on this. Lo and behold, we now get to this point today where he decides he's going to maybe not back off entirely, but delay the implementation of a big chunk of these tariffs until December 15th. Now, he's certainly not going to say that he blinked. While analysts are saying that's exactly what happened, here's what the president had to say in terms of his reasoning.
We're doing this for Christmas season, just in case some of the tariffs would have an impact on U.S. customers, which so far they've had virtually none. The only impact has been that we've collected almost $60 billion from China, compliments of China.
Compliments of China. One of the most vexing things, and you've heard me rant about this before, Vashi, in dealing with this, is Trump's insistence that American consumers aren't paying these tariffs. Of course they are. A tariff is just a fancy word for a tax, and it's a tax in this case on anything this list of goods that's coming in from China. But again today, Trump being quite adamant that China is somehow paying for these tariffs, not American consumers, when we all know the opposite is actually what.
You also mentioned sort of the reaction to China's reaction earlier this week. We saw markets really take a hit. A little bit of stabilization today. What signal does this send to markets for a lot of people watching who are worried about their own investments?
Right. And it sends a couple of things. One is, I think the markets are saying the truce is back on. Let's wait until we get to September and the new talks begin, and we can probably get a better sense of where this is going to go. And so much hasn't been priced in terms of this, because I think markets have had a hard time reading what the actual intentions are. And in a weird way, that's part of the problem, or it's becoming part of the problem. And analysts at Beijing are now talking on state television saying, portraying the Americans as really erratic in all of this, and that unpredictable. And so maybe not a reliable negotiating partner in all of this. And that becomes a problem, that if they say to themselves, well, how can we trust you if you make a deal and then break it? It speaks to the fact that things might get worse before they get better, if they get better at all. But for now, markets are saying we're back to the status quo of not really understanding all of the motivations here. We're going to wait and see what actually happens come September.
All right, appreciate the analysis. Thanks so much, Peter. That's Peter Armstrong, our senior business correspondent from Toronto. Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video. Thanks for watching.